time is it?
Time is in the tree.
The name, the story tonight is called The Jewel in the King's Crown. Once, the holy Rebbe, Pinchas of Koretz, saw a paper blowing around the street, which contained notations from the mystical teachings. It caused him and the rest of the Holy Brotherhood to consider disallowing dissemination of Chassidus. Can you imagine? We wouldn't have a show. The Alter Rebbe did not agree with him. He made his point through a parable of a king whose son was deathly ill. The only cure for his sickness was to grind up the most beautiful jewel in the king's crown, mix the dust with water, and hope that a few drops would penetrate the cold, closed lips of the comatose prince, and it would save his life. So too in our case. Spreading the secrets of the Torah in the parable, the beautiful precious stone in the crown of the king, is the prescription to save the spiritual life of the king's son, the children of Israel. Our Rebbe says that the connection of the parallel to the case it illuminates he says there is no way to save the king's son except by grinding up the most precious jewel in the crown of the king. But in our case, why are we forced to say the only way to save and revive the soul of Israel is through the dissemination of the inner secrets of Hashem's Torah? In particular, why in these later generations are we permitted and even commanded to reveal this wisdom? We know that in all the preceding generations, it was not a mitzvah to reveal this mode of Torah learning, the mystical secrets. Just the opposite. It was locked away, and none were able to get to it, and there were a lot of rules forbidding its dissemination. Now, one of the explanations why we get it now is that a Jew's bond with Hashem needs to be not only with his whole heart and his whole soul, but also with all his might, which means to reveal the very inner essence, the inner level of the Jew. The Rebbe illustrates this from Psalm 27, in which King David says that Hashem said, "Seek my face." And the word for face, panim in Hebrew, is a construct which indicates internality. Seek my inner level, Hashem says. While Hashem calls us to seek the innermost bond with him, we in turn respond that we do seek the innermost level of Hashem. That's in the next phrase of that psalm. And when the service of asking for Hashem's inner light to shine on us is achieved, then the corollary, your face shines, the inner light of Hashem's countenance will be completely revealed. The inner call and response between a Jew and Hashem is the essential revelation of godliness that comes through the inner dimension of the Torah, Chassidus, the precious stone in the crown of the king. And this answers the question, why are we forced to say that the only way to save and revive the Jewish people of Israel is through the dissemination of the inner secrets of Hashem's Torah? The Rebbe answers the question, and in particular in these later generations, why are we permitted and even commanded to reveal this wisdom? And he answers it in the following way. Earlier generations were on such a high level that this revelation of godliness was not necessary for everyone. Instead, it was only appropriate for special souls. And then the revelation was drawn to those who were prepared to receive it. This corresponds to the statement of the prophet Habakkuk that a tzaddik enlivens others through his faith. But in these later generations, in our generation, for you and me, each individual needs to reveal the inner dimension of his soul by loving Hashem with all his might. Therefore, the inner level of the Torah needs to be received and internalized in a way that touches each of us individually. And in this way we fulfill the commandment found, make me a sanctuary and I will dwell among them, meaning not in it, but in them, in each person individually. And the way that's accomplished is through learning Hasidus Chabad. There he is. There's the Marvin, you ever heard the phrase, a dead man walking?
You threatening me with something?
No, I'm just mentioning this concept.
Oh, you're just mentioning it, huh? Hey, by the way, do you like your knees hold? Just mentioning it. So let me ask you, Bitzali.
Yes.
You know, what happens when you take an evil guy like moi, and you give me the gem, and I go, hey, let me steal this gem of Hasidus and take it for myself?
Give it a try, Marvin. We'll brain together.
Oh boy, I get the feeling this isn't going to end well for me. Or
It'll
maybe
end
it'll
very
end real well.
It'll end very well for you. We'll all sit around together with Hashem and we'll have revelations of godliness.
It ain't nothing but a party, Bitzalel.
Marvin, you'll be able to retire.
Oh wow, I've been waiting to retire. Maybe I'll finally get to go to yeshiva or something, you know? You know, every other time I used to go to yeshiva, the Mashiach would kick me out because I'm the Yetzer Hara. When Mashiach comes, I can go too. How about a joke?
Not only, you'll probably teach us.
I don't know if you want that, but how about a joke song?
Okay, you ready?
All right.
Okay. If the mikvah was mashka, and I was a duck, I'd swim to the bottom and I'd never come up. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Or must I hesitate? Well, the mikvah's not mashka, and I'm not a duck. When I swam to the bottom, I was swimming up. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Or must I hesitate? All the angels in the heaven, and the fish in the sea, are asking for Mashiach, like you and me. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Oh, must I hesitate? Merciful King, all the work is done. Don't you think it's time we could have some fun? Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Or must I hesitate? I ain't lying. The people down here that are sick and dying. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Or must I hesitate? Now come on, children. We're gonna have some fun. You ain't seen nothing like the Holy One. Tell me how long I have to wait? Can I get Mashiach now? Or must I hesitate? Like Mendel says, ya, mama, da-da-da-da-da. Tell me how long do I have to wait? I guess everybody gets it by now that this is the Iker for bringing of Mashiach, the revelation of Hashem in the world. And the specialty of Chassidus is to reveal in a real and personal way that Hashem is a living God. And He's participating with us in our life and our services. He's personally involved with each one of us, and He delights in each one of us on a personal level. So when we do what He wants, He gets tremendous nachas from us. And soon that big smile will be revealed. A king has a special chamber that's only his. The king has many rooms. He has a throne room where he reveals his glory. He has a big dining room where he feeds his guests. He has a court where he judges people. He has conference rooms. He has gardens. But he has one private chamber, his personal dwelling place, his own room.
The rumpus room.
No, the rumpus room is a separate room.
Man cave. King cave.
There's a parable that the previous Rebbe tells, that there was a king who married off his only daughter to a prince from another country, and the prince was going to take his daughter back to that country where he was from. And the king said, I can't stop you from leaving. On the other hand, I can't give up my daughter. One thing I ask of you, wherever you are, build a small room for me. The daughter is the Torah. The prince is the Jewish people. The king is Hashem. Hashem says, my wisdom and understanding, the Torah, I can't give up. On the other hand, I give it to the prince. So I asked him, I asked the Jewish people, build me a room. Make a place when you learn Torah where I am part of it, where you have me in mind. And in this vein, the Jews are called brothers and loved ones to Hashem. And the question is, how are they brothers and loved ones? Even though the Jews are holy, and the Torah is holy. But compared to Hashem's holiness, they're not holy at all. How then are they called brothers and friends? Even the holiness of a Jew who does mitzvahs, he unites with Hashem, can't be compared to Hashem's essential holiness. Torah is the king's private chamber. How could it be that Hashem has a private chamber? The chamber indicates a room, a dwelling place. And by Hashem, even the heavens and the heaven of heavens cannot contain it. They can't contain the infinite. but he does fit comfortably in the 4 cubits of the Torah. It's called the room of the Holy of Holies, where the Shekhinah, where Hashem's indwelling presence rests. But the question stands, how is it possible to fit infinite into a room with walls, a floor, and a ceiling? King David declares in the Psalm, I ask one thing, to sit in the house of Hashem, the 4 cubits of Torah. So we see it's possible for Hashem to fit in 4 cubits. On the other hand, we don't understand how it's possible. In explaining it, the Rebbe says that there are 2 levels of surrounding light. There's the close surround, like my clothing surrounds me. And then there's the far surround, like my house surrounds me. The close surround is like a garment, like it said. Hashem wraps himself with light like a garment. But the real beauty of a man is when he sits in his house. The house is a metaphor for the higher, the far surround, higher than the garment. When he's sitting in his house, a person's honor and his glory are more revealed than when he is not. It's his essential place. It's where he's settled. It's higher than the clothing, the close surround, which surrounds intellect and emotions, which is symbolized by a garment. But in the house, which symbolizes the far surround, the level of the soul, called Yechida, the one alone level of the soul, can be revealed, as we explained before, that the soul has 5 levels, and Yechida indicates the level of the soul where it is one alone. It is not a combination of parts. It has no specific way that it manifests itself in the world or in the body. It's a level of the soul that completely surrounds the person from head to foot equally. Not like clothes, which symbolize the level of Chaya, which reveals itself from time to time in either desire or intellect or emotions. But this higher surround, this level of Yechida, the one alone level, symbolized by a house, is a level which is abstract, undefined, unconnected to any particular details. For example, in Jewish law, the 6 feet around the person acquire an object for him, even though he doesn't know it fell there. Because the far surround, this level of Yechida, makes him own that space. But that level of Yechida, that far surround, doesn't reveal itself in the individual power. It surrounds like a far surround. And that's the level of the king's private room. There is no specific function for it. But it is the place of the king. And a place surrounds the one that's inside of it in 6 directions. So the Torah is the dwelling place, is that room of Hashem's for the Holy One. It's his private room, and it's the level of that outer surround. So we have to still understand, how is it possible that Hashem could dwell in a room of 6 directions, 4 walls, a floor, and a ceiling, when this level of Yechida, this level of one alone, is higher than being contained in any kind of containment. It's the room called the Holy of Holies, where can be found the indwelling presence of the essence of Hashem. And we have the merit to be able to connect with that and dwell with Hashem in that room of the Holy of Holies. Now I think the boys probably have some entertainment prepared for us.
Probably do a little,
You would've
little
called
Parsha
that.
poem. A little Parsha poem for the great and famous.
Oh, a Parsha poem.
First of that, just to test your balance. See if you can reach over.
When we learn Torah, continuing to understand how the 4 cubits of Torah is Hashem's dwelling place, his private chambers, and how it is that he fits into a place that's surrounded by 6 directions. When we learn Torah, Hashem sits and says the words along with us. He learns exactly what we are learning, as if we are sitting at the same table with him, both learning the same portion. So even though the world is not his place, Hashem can't fit into the world, and he is the place of the world is in him. Nevertheless, he chooses to dwell in his private chamber, the Holy of Holies, in the 4 cubits of the Torah that we learn. And we build that room that Hashem sits in. The melody of the words of Torah that we say is His delight, is the godly delight in our learning. And the letters that we say are the stones that build that room. And just like in the previous Rebbe's parable, the king asks, build me a room so I'm not away from you. Build one small room. And the one caveat is that that one small room leaves a place for Hashem in our learning. When we learn Torah, we don't just learn it intellectually. We realize it's Hashem's Torah. And we learn His Torah with Him in mind. He's the one who showed us such great love by giving us His precious Torah. Especially when we build Him that small Holy of Holies, His private chamber, where we meet and unify with the Infinite Holy One. Build one small room, the king tells his daughter and son-in-law. And when we learn, we sit with him like two friends learning the same text. With the breath of speech of each word of Torah, the essence of Hashem, Hashem Himself, bonds to our soul. And our soul is elevated higher and higher through that Torah that we're saying. And it becomes the supernal shrine that surrounds us together with Hashem, as He mirrors our words of Torah. At that point we are called brothers, because without our calling of those letters, Hashem remains holy and separate. Only through the connection of Jews learning Torah, Hashem Himself connects and He's drawn down to bond with us, making us brothers and loved ones. So both levels of holiness, ours and Hashem's, become connected in that chamber of Torah. We're called brothers and friends. When a person says letters of Torah, his whole intellect and emotional attributes and thought and his speech is surrounded from all sides by these letters that he's saying. That combination of letters surrounds his soul. Even the breath of his speech, because it's combining those letters, like when you say in the beginning, the first words of the Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning Hashem created the heaven and earth. When you say that, those very letters have their source in a divine surrounding level, Hashem's delight in having the world, from which they actually surround this speech of the person who's saying those words of Torah, and they become a shrine for that soul. So even though those letters in the beginning are coming from his inner breath, on a supernal level, they surround the person completely. So all letters of the Torah a person expresses become a shrine for him in paradise. Like a person who sits in the king's chamber, which surrounds him from every side. The existence of all the worlds is from those letters of Torah. And everybody who sits and says Torah, Hashem repeats it with him, like it says, Hashem is your shadow. He shadows your actions. And now, I think the 3,000-year-old puppet is going to come and give us a lesson in that Torah, in that shrine
Good old Torah.
for us and Hashem. Herschel? Uncle Herschel.
I got your back.
Why?
Okay, what are we doing with the microphone?
It's right here.
It's hanging on the thing there.
All right. Okay, if it's hanging there, we don't have to do anything. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jewish Experience portion of the program. We talk about the Parsha of the week.
These things are...
And now we're, before we've talked about a number of different Parshas in the Torah, and it's been an interesting story about the Jews and the Yidden, and they're traveling, and they went out of Mitzrayim, and they're traveling in the desert, and all the things that go on with them. Now, as we prepare to enter the Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land, now we got to get ready for that. And so Hashem is now beginning to teach us all the laws and things we have to do when we get there. In the Parsha this week in Mishpatim, we talk about all the different things that we have to do and learn to deal with everyday things that we run into. This is the, so to speak, the civil legislation, if you will. So with that, we have the 3,000-year-old Papa. Where is he?
Hey, hi,
Hey, Shalom Aleichem. Good to see you guys.
Hey, Froggy, let me eat one of those chips. Ah! Inside joke.
The guy's been around for 3,000 years, and sometimes the jokes get old. But the point is, he's still with us.
Yes.
And the main thing is, he was there.
I was there, Hoishi.
I know.
I
And
saw
the
it all
point
happen.
is, that's why you paid the big bucks, because you were there.
I know. It'd be great if I was young enough to remember where they was.
All right, well, I can handle it with that. The point is, he remembers all the stuff because he was there and he actually went through it all. So we're going to talk to him about Mishpatim and the things that he went through. So, how you doing?
Oh, thank God, Hoishi, I'm doing great.
You thought it
I'm
looked
doing
good.
great.
For 3,000 years,
3,000 years not bad.
they look pretty good for 3,000
Yeah,
years.
we missed you all. We missed you all last week.
Yep.
We missed you all last week because we want to wish Mazel Tov to Betzalel. Is on the marriage of his daughter. We should have many simchas and nachas.
Amen.
The children and grandchildren who learn Torah and Chassidus.
Were you there at the wedding?
I was there, you know. You should,
Of course he was there. He's everywhere.
You're single guy on your show. You think he's crazy. You should have seen his brother at Chasna. Anyways.
Alright, so let's get down to it.
Let's get down. Parshas Mishpatim.
Right.
Lots and lots of laws.
A lot of laws. In fact, more laws in Mishpatim than we've hit in the recent Torah portions, but this will get down to some business here.
Yeah,
Okay,
and it's
so-
interesting, it says, Ve'ela HaMishpatim, and these are the, what do you mean, and these are the commandments? Why not, these are the commandments? Because it comes right after the giving of the Torah,
Right.
and it's saying, and these, in other words, all these other commandments was also given by God to Moses. It's the same thing.
No,
The same thing, Haishi.
that's it. So
Yep.
now we get down to the details, the tachlis,
Well-
what's actually going on.
Well,
So-
first of all, it talks about a slave.
Right.
And it talks about that somebody becomes a slave. And what's so bad about being a slave? Well, besides for the obvious.
Right.
But is that we're talking about people who chose to go into slavery to settle a debt.
Typically.
And, or someone maybe stole something like
That's
that.
something else.
A different thing. But anyways, the bottom line is because you chose, is that you're supposed to be a slave to Hashem, not a
Right.
slave to people.
That's right.
And this is the problem with this.
It's a big problem.
Yeah. So it says, anyways, what happens is, if somebody goes to slavery and then after 6 years he will come out on the 7th year, right?
That's right.
But if he decides, he'll say, no, I love my master, I want to stay here. They put him by the doorpost, they put a nail to his ear.
That hurt.
They make him an earring. I don't know, all the youth of today don't seem to think it's such a big deal
I
like
know.
she.
But you know what? The thing is, they have to remember that the only one he has to be subservient to is the Abishter.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why they put it through the ear, is because you wasn't. Hashem just gave you these
Right.
the
And
laws
he
at
didn't
Sinai,
listen. He didn't listen.
and you didn't listen.
That's
So,
the other thing is, why would he even do that? He would do that because in the Jewish world, the slave is very well taken care of. He has to eat just as good food as his master.
Yeah,
He
there's
eats
lots
just
of
as
rules
good
on
place.
how you have to treat them.
And he
They
has to
wasn't
treat
really
them
a
very
slave
nice.
like we think of a slave like with the whips and
Correct.
stuff. There was another way, there was house help, like a butler.
That's right. And he had a great I mean, he didn't have his freedom, but he had everybody taking care of his needs, were taken care of, his food was taken care of, all that stuff. So he, you know, some people think that's a great way to live, and they don't realize what they should be doing is working to spread Yiddishkeit, to serve.
That's right, Maishi. Welfare is not the answer.
That's right, that's right.
You have to, not in Eretz Yisrael anyways. In Eretz Yisrael, Hashem expected everybody to do their part and to do hard work. Not you should leave it on somebody else or leave it on society. I mean, obviously there was poor people and things like this that we have to take care of.
That's right.
But if somebody was able-bodied in Eretz Yisrael, they had to work.
Okay, and the main thing is, by the way, what we're talking about here is a lot of stuff in this parsha. We can't talk about all of it. We can just go through very quickly. We should remind everybody that they should pick up a copy of the Chumash and the Torah, and they should go through Mishpatim and look at all the commentaries and the details and try to learn and get in depth about what's going on. We're just giving you a flavor of what's happening here, because there's a lot of stuff in this parsha. Right?
Now there's a lot of stuff. Now some interesting things, because in the slaves, there are different types of slaves.
Right.
And there was Hasidic meaning behind this also.
That's correct.
For example, like a Canaanite slave means the first level is when you're a slave to your animal soul and you have all physical needs and everything, you're driven by your physical body, and this is the first level, is to get over that.
That's correct.
Yeah, and the next level is the Hebrew slave, right? Means he's a higher level. He already feels some excitement for God.
Sure.
What are you laughing at, Fragi? What's laughter, Doctor?
He's having a good time.
I know, it's good. He's having a good time.
You should always be specific.
Yeah, I always say, whatever Laban's having, I want some. Anyways, I'm not sure if it's legal, but I want some.
You need a blood transfusion to get
That's
it.
pretty good to say, because the guy's been around 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, go.
Anyways, the Hebrew slave, so he feels already some excitement about God, but still the animal soul still comes to haunt him, to make him problems.
Right.
You know, he's not completely away from it.
Okay.
But then there's a higher level, which is the maid servant. And what's the maid servant? The maid servant, it says that she can't go to this master's house unless he has a son that will marry her.
Right.
In other words, she's not going to be a slave. She's going really to be unified with his family, to marry into the family. And this is the same thing. This is really the real point is that our excitement with God should be completely unified with everything we do on this earth.
Right.
Yeah, I said oit, Leib. You got a problem with oit? It's English. I was there before English was even invented, so what do you want from my life?
Can you spell Earth?
Oh, yeah, oit.
Oit.
E-A-oit.
Oit.
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody copy that. All right. So anyway, what else we got going on?
Well, there's actually lots of other things. I don't know if we can cover all of them.
We don't have a time for
But
all
like,
that
for
stuff.
example, it talks about the laws of if you hit somebody, if you kidnap somebody,
Right.
somebody who curses. What are you looking at? I said curses. It's English. Curses his father or his mother, right? Or somebody who hits somebody.
C-O-I-R, choices.
Curses, yeah, curses. Like on Pesach we drink arba curses.
Right. I don't think so, but
Yeah, it
anyway.
depends what you drink.
Right.
It depends which wine. Anyways, there's lots of different things also. If someone's negligent, or if someone steals things, what happens if an ox pokes somebody with his horns?
Explain about
Pokey.
explain the difference of what people sometimes mistake and what an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And
Well, it doesn't mean we poke his eye out. If you poked his eye out, we poke your eye out. I mean, that's a kindergarten thing. In kindergarten it works well.
Right.
Until the teacher patches you, but not nowadays. No
That's
across
right.
the shoulder. But when I was growing up 3,000 years ago, the teacher would give you both patch and trust me, the fight was over fast.
Right.
Kids nowadays, Hoishi,
Nope.
for the last 1,000 years, people don't behave well anymore.
I know, but the thing is, when you do something,
No, it means that you have to pay. In other words, it's like workers' comp.
right,
That they have
it's
because
not equal to the value.
yeah, like in other words, he doesn't have an eye anymore. He can't vote the same.
Correct.
So you have to pay him to help. He should be able to make a
Right,
living and
it's
stuff.
an equality in penalty, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
but
mean
it doesn't
the
mean
eye.
you poke
It's
his
a-
eye out.
Right.
There's a big misunderstanding people have.
And that's a major thing.
Yeah.
It's a major
Oh, I mean, I'm going to have to give that guy back his eye.
He gets a money back guarantee.
Hey, Hoishi,
Or eye back guarantee.
how is it that Leib makes it through a day without getting arrested? You want to tell me? Anyways, here's the one part they really want to talk about because it has great lessons in Hasidus. The 4 guardians. This
Right.
means there's 4 types of people. One means you give me your thing to watch for you,
Right,
and I watch it for free. Oh, Hoishi, you need someone to watch this for you? I watch it for
right.
you.
remember.
The next guy is somebody who borrows it from you. Hey, Hoichi, can I borrow this? Okay. Now, another person rents it. In other words, it's like a borrower, but he's not taking it for free. He pays for it.
Right,
Then there's another person who gets paid to watch it.
right.
And anyways, in the laws, the question, of course, in the Gemara is also
Well,
looked
it's
at
more
the law.
serious if you
Is
pay
what happens?
it.
What happens if you lose this item, you break the
Right.
item, it's stolen? There's all kinds of laws, and it depends on each kind of person.
Correct.
You know, like for example, if I was watching it for free and somebody steals it, it's really not. You know, I was doing you a favor. If on the other hand, if I was borrowing it from you, that's different. But anyways, but there's a lot of beautiful things in Hasidus about this. Is that the guardian who's not paid? This is a person who feels that he doesn't feel he needs pay. In other words, I'm put here to serve Hashem.
That's right.
I'm here only for Hashem. I don't need nothing. Ich darf nicht go nicht. I need only God.
Right.
Then there's a borrower. The borrower, in other words, the owner enjoys no benefit from this. Right? This is a person, he just wants self-fulfillment. He wants just, let me borrow. Right? Even though he knows who the owner is, he knows about Hashem, but he's not interested to do something for Hashem. He's interested to do for himself. Then there's a renter. He's like a borrower, but he pays the owner. This is a guy, he's like, well, since I have such a good life, I guess I should also give something to the Eibishter after all.
But his responsibility grows when he does this.
Yeah, and then there's a paid guardian, right? It's a little bit different. It's like he basically serves God, but he feels I should also take something.
Right.
But we see that the best kind of a person is the unpaid guardian.
Sure.
Is the person who realizes that I'm only here for Hashem, and the reward is in itself. Just like if you tell me, hey, can you watch my puppy for me? And I say, Haishi, it will be my honor. Why? Because I feel a reward just to do something for you.
Thank you.
And this is the way we should really try to be the most we can, is not to think about, if I do a mitzvah, Hashem maybe will give me this. No. The reward is the mitzvah.
Right.
Is you got to do something and be close to Hashem.
Of course, it doesn't hurt the other way too.
Well,
The
Hashem
bottom line
might,
is,
of course.
You don't do it for that.
But the main
Hashem
thing-
tells you though that He gives you the rain in His season. He tells you all
Well,
these
but
good
yeah,
things.
but even these good
But
things,
he
you're
does
looking,
that
how
because
can I
he
use
gives
the
you-
good things for Hashem only?
Right. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. So.
The good things, even the good things that He gives me, it's not for me, it's how do I now use
That's
this
right.
for Him.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Because
this
He'll give you
yeah.
more stuff you can do to serve Hashem even greater. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, but this is the beautiful lesson we learn from these four guardians.
That's correct.
It talks about other things also, like one of the important things here is how you have to make sure to take care of people who are less fortunate,
Correct.
who are poor, or like if
And there's
an
always gonna
orphan
be the
or
poor.
a widow, and these people, you have to take good care of them.
There's always, because there's a lesson for us also in doing
Yeah.
that. So that's why there'll always be those people to make sure we have the opportunity and the schus to do that for
Right,
them.
and it's a big mitzvah when we do this, and we should realize that this is something Hashem. The people go, this person I have to deal with them. No, look, Hashem is sending you a big opportunity to
That's
a
right.
mitzvah. And it also it's very important. It talks about also that to make sure to be honest and just,
Sure.
and especially for a judge, he shouldn't judge things with
To
things
be above
for
reproach.
one
Usually it
place
should
or
be
another place.
financially stable so you can't be bribed.
Yeah.
And free from all that. So that's important.
What else it talks about? It talks about also, in the end, it talks about how it's important when Hashem will give you the land, right? And make sure you don't, this is very important, because nowadays we see, sometimes we see even people who they represent, Judaism and Hasidus,
Sure.
they fall, there's a pitfall that they want to try to be like other people around them. To show, no, don't worry, we agree with you, we think
Right.
like you. No, we need to show them that the Torah is the right way.
Correct.
Yes,
be
of course,
ashamed to be
exactly. Of course, we
that's right.
tolerate everybody,
Right.
but we're not trying to fit Yiddishkeit
Right.
into other things, because Yiddishkeit, the Torah is the ultimate truth, and it's
That's
about
correct.
teaching everybody else about this truth, not trying to bend it to what they think.
The whole key is to elevate the world.
Yeah, and that's how we bring
eventually
Mashiach.
make a dwelling place
Right.
for Hashem, because that
Right.
is the coming of Mashiach.
Yeah, and anyways, and this is and Hashem promises that if you will do this, will be really, really good
Good
things.
stuff, and then
Yeah.
bring
Good
peace in the
things,
coming of Mashiach. It
and
should
it'll
happen.
be exactly, it'll be the coming of Mashiach.
Ashtav, right now.
Oh man!
Amen.
And one last thing here is the last thing in the parsha is Hashem makes a fire on the mountain. Moshe goes up Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, And Hashem makes a fire, and it's not coming from any kind of fuel, it's just from the rock itself.
Right.
And what this teaches us is that, when you're excited about Hashem, we should be excited in shul, we should be excited when we learn, but even on a rock, even on a place that's like a still life, so to speak.
Right.
We should bring excitement of Hashem and of mitzvahs in the whole world.
That's right, because everything contains elements of Hashem, and everything contains that ability to enliven itself. Everything has a purpose in the world, so that's what it is.
It's great.
So you are the man.
For a young kid, you're so smart.
Yeah, and for an old man, you still do.
Oh yeah, I still have my canoodles in my head.
It's a big,
Okay,
scuss to hang out
Oh,
with
thanks
you.
so much, Haishi. It's always great to see you. And now,
back to you,
B'Tzalel.
All
All right.
There'll be a test later, by the way.
Thank you, boys. A little enlightenment. Just a little.
A little light goes far in the dark.
So when we say Torah, Hashem is like our shadow. He shadows our every move. Like two people who sit together in a room. They read the same text. So too, Hashem is surrounded by that room of Torah letters. Since He's saying it with us, together with the one learning the Torah. So the same letters that surround the one learning surround Hashem also. Because He's saying those same letters. It makes one shrine, one chamber, that surrounds both from every side. Brothers and friends, the Jews who learn Torah, which is the word of Hashem. Hashem sits together with them in that supernal inner shrine. The Holy One, blessed be He, sits together with them, the ones who say the letters of Torah, in the Holy of Holies, in the private room of the King. He comes down from His essential holy level to delight with us in His Torah. And now I think we have a niggun.
Well, we haven't done Utsueta today, and that's kind of our
Utsueta,
theme
come
song.
on.
That's very important for us.
Okay. Where's Lane? Is he here?
I'm here.
Barely, but he's here. The good thing is he's either here or higher than here, but he's here somewhere. You ready, Lane?
All right.
Hi-de-ho.
Oh, Gezintahait.
And now, we're going to have our sign-off tune. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Gezintahait.